Hey, we got Ben Bagge back on the show, owner and physical therapist of ProKinetics Rehab. I'm Dave Kittle, owner of Concierge Pain Relief Home Physical Therapy in New York City and the CEO of the Fieldmaker Group. We're currently speaking with practice owners about partnering or acquiring some or all their practice. And today we're going to be talking about tips or strategies or advice of where, as you, as a practice owner, where can you or could you put your profits in regards to reinvesting back in your business, reinvesting in real estate. Hopefully you have some profits. That's the whole point. We want to be able to serve our communities, help our patients, grow a staff, a great team, retain that team. But at the end of the day, this is a business. There's some capitalism here, and we have to have profit. We have to have profit for growth and expansion. Otherwise, I think you might be shrinking or not doing well. So, Ben, welcome back on the show. We're going to talk about a little bit of what, like your experiences, what you've been doing at ProKinetics Rehab in regards to your profits. Obviously, you've scaled now to 3 locations. You either are getting into real estate or have gotten into real estate. So let's get into that. Kick it over to you and tell us a little bit about your situation.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Dave. First one was a lot of fun, so looking forward to this one as well. So so I own ProKinetics Physical Therapy and Performance. We have 3 locations, San Diego, Oakland, and Des Moines. And we have scaled to 1.5 million per year and looking to hit the 2 million mark this year. So a big problem I've run into, and the good problem, is now what to do with these profits from the business and where to pump those profits into different investments and what's worked well for me. And I'm happy to share that on this episode today.
Awesome. And if you guys had not listened to the last episode, Ben went into a little bit more of his cash practice, 3 locations, Oakland, San Diego, and Des Moines, is correct?
Yep, correct. Yep.
And so if you want to hear more about the practice, cash-based practice, they're charging at least $200, if not more, per visit. He's got physical therapists at all of his locations and multiple therapists at some of his locations. But this episode, we're going to go in a little bit more of detail of this. So what would be a good starting point for this conversation?
Yeah, it really goes back to like where I encourage people to start. A lot of times people start looking into like investing, in my opinion, almost a little too early. And I know that kind of goes against the general recommendation of most people, like you need to start investing early. Yes, but it depends on where. So what I encourage most people to do is actually invest in themselves heavily on acquiring skill sets before actually investing into real estate, investing in crypto and stocks. Again, prefacing, I'm not a financial advisor, just showing what has worked for me and what I recommend to other people to do as well. So take it with a grain of salt. But I really highly encourage people to invest in themselves, acquire skills. So going to physical therapy school, becoming and being skilled in that is an investment in yourself, right? Which is a great step. But what we don't learn in PT school is the sales process, the business process, and systems like that. So if you want to start a business, you need to start investing in yourself to acquire those skills to help accelerate it versus turning towards like, hey, I want to pay off student loans or start looking into real estate, crypto, stocks, what have you. It's much more better to leverage your skill set and grow that skill set so you can start a business, grow and scale that business, then take the profits from your business and pump it into real estate and those other investment vehicles. Because at the end of the day, by growing and scaling a practice, you're going to have a lot more capital than you would if you just stay an employee, because your earning potential is limited, essentially. When you start a business, that earning potential isn't, right? So that's why I highly encourage people to invest in themselves early on instead of looking to invest in real estate and stocks and crypto. But I'm happy to talk in like, hey, I'm at this point where I have a successful business and I'm not really sure what to pump into it, but really want to make it clear. I lean very heavily towards investing in yourself early to acquire skills to help accelerate your earning potential to be able to have more to pump into these investment vehicles down the road.
Right. So, and I know a lot of physical therapists, they might have student loan debt and they'll think that it's a challenge or risky to invest in themselves. And it could be something like investing, like you're saying, into, a sales course, a mastermind, a marketing course, investing in putting marketing dollars into Facebook or Google ads, whatever it might be, but it is investing in yourself and or your practice. First of all, what was the year that your practice was founded when you started?
November 2018.
2018. And so again, this is not financial advice. We're not financial advisors, but this is more of just like, this is what you've done, Ben. This is what has worked for you. So when did you so you were investing in yourself, you improved your skills, you got a sales process down, you're, offering this out-of-pocket physical therapy, which is already, kind of against the grain in the US. When did you start having enough profits where you were not looking to do the fourth or fifth or sixth location? And maybe you're at that point now, I don't know, versus then taking some of that money and instead of the next couple locations or investing in more marketing and expanding your team, which I'm sure you're doing at the same time. When did it seem feasible or appropriate for you to then look into real estate? Was it in, year 2 or 3 or 4, like after there was some, critical scale?
Yeah, it was around right between year 2 and 3 is when I really started. The first 2 years is just reinvesting in myself and mental barrier that I had to overcome, and a lot of people may be listening or trying to overcome as well. The way I looked at it is I had invested over $120,000 into PT school, right? And some people I don't want to invest in like business coaching or learning or invest in myself anymore. I've already spent $120,000 or $100,000 plus on education. Well, the thing is I had in that first year, I invested $20,000 into business coaching. That $20,000 I invested was a much better ROI than the money that I invested in PT school, because it helped me grow and scale my practice, right? So that's the way you kind of have to make a mental shift to realize, hey, a lot of times if you choose the right business coach or business mentor and business coaching, that it will help accelerate your income level. And so it really got to the point of year 2 or 3 to answer your question when I started still invest myself. I still do, but I started allocating more towards stocks and real estate and exploring some of these other investment vehicles.
Got it. So what was the first project in terms of like real estate that you were looking at or that you actually kind of committed to?
Yeah, so I started with stocks because I didn't know quite. I also invested in learning which investment vehicles. That was also an investment that I made, is to learn about investments and which way to go instead of just kind of spraying and praying with whatever works. So at that point, the most I knew about was stocks. I really didn't know much about real estate. I didn't know anything about crypto. I didn't really know anything about these other investment vehicles. So I invested in getting coaching on this, as well as a little bit through a little bit in stocks as well to get started with it. And so from there, what I did is I went and started investing in real estate primarily, and started the first real estate project I got into was an apartment complex back in Iowa. That was a 16-unit apartment complex, and kind of dove right into that. So that was the first one that I went after.
Got it. So with that one, did you take out a loan, or did you, have most cash down, or have a partner? Like, what was some of the, arrangement or structure there?
Yeah, so I had a mentor that helped me with the project, and I put 20% down, and that 20% came from the income from my business, and then took the loan out from that. I like to be leveraged. I like to leverage other people's money. What I mean by that is leveraging the bank's money instead of putting all your money in on that. You can't leverage. Kind of hard to explain just over like 5 minutes here, but I won't get into the nitty gritty of it. But I like to be leveraged where I can leverage other people's money. So that's why I decided to put 20% down instead of paying outright for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, we talk about it on the show. I mean, typically the biggest cost of investment dollars would be your own equity, right? So your own equity would, you put 20% down. So really it's automatically you have 20% equity, and then you're going to continue to finance it using an SBA loan or some commercial debt loan, whatever. Yep. And so it makes sense to use other people's money. This is how business acquisitions are done oftentimes as well, unless it's a big corporate. But even the big corporates will take out debt financing, and instead of taking their own capital, they'll also leverage debt as well. So it doesn't matter if you're 1 or 3 location physical therapy practice owner. You certainly, as long as your credit score, I think, it's got to be 700 or 650 or something like that or higher. Pretty good credit score, track record, personal financial statements, all that. And, most practice owners could qualify for anything like this. They could use SBA or commercial debt for acquiring another practice, oftentimes for de novo, startup locations, or in your case, real estate. So it's something that sometimes we touch on. And even though we put out more content, more for the sell side, the practice owners exiting, but on the buy side, we've definitely talked about that a bit. So it makes a ton of sense to leverage other people's money, because then the rest of that 80% you can kind of spread it out over time. It doesn't come out of your pocket. You're going to pay some interest rate, but knowing with the growth of your business, there's going to be more profits and easily covers the debt service. So the debt service paying off those monthly loan payments every month to the bank for the rest of that 80%. So makes a ton of sense there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like if I saved up all the money to buy that property outright, I'd have to invest 100% of my other cash into that and cover all that. Versus if I just put 20% down, I could theoretically buy 5 of the same properties if I would have otherwise, versus if I would have otherwise just paid all in cash for that one property. So you just become more leveraged and more efficient, in my opinion, too. So,
right. So you have the 20% down for that real estate deal. Did you look at it as like, you have that chunk of money, whatever that dollar amount was, like, if you don't put that down, if you don't find a good project that is going to be good for you and your partner or your mentor or whoever, or just yourself, you're going to have to then declare that as profits and pay taxes on it, right? So instead of paying taxes on it, you find a project. So in some cases, it could be you find a business to acquire a partner, or in this case, you found this apartment building with all these units. I think you said 16 units. You could put that dollar amount into this real estate. And then it, as far as I would, again, I'm not a tax attorney or anything like that, or an accountant, but that dollar amount, I think if you do it a certain way, then it's not taxed. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's that's why I prefer real estate, because there's tax savings and other ways that you can, just save a crap ton of money on taxes by going the real estate route versus some of these other vehicles. Again, not saying real estate's the best. It's just the best one for me in my situation. But yeah, you can do what's called cost segregations, which just accelerates depreciation, which you can claim on your taxes, and you don't have to pay taxes on that income, essentially. Then there's also strategies where it's called the Bird method, where you buy, rent, rehab, and then you just can continue to repeat this. So that's what I did with the Airbnb that I bought. I bought this cabin, and what we did is my partner, we went on this deal together, and where I brought the cash and he did all the remodeling. But we bought a cabin for $400,000. We put like $100,000 into the rehab, where we included an extra bedroom, an extra bathroom, and made this property worth around $650,000, let's say. Now you can do a cash out refinance and pull all the money out of that deal that you put into it. Now you go find another cabin. You just can rinse and repeat the same, $100,000, $200,000 over and over and over again. So you don't have to keep finding new capital. And you can continue to do cost segregation studies on each of those properties to save money on taxes too. So it's a really effective strategy if you can do it right. That's the big thing, and be able to identify the properties.
So in that case, is it typically like you have to pay tax on that dollar amount eventually, and you're kind of like kicking it down the road if you kind of like just take that pre-tax money and you're putting it into another project, and it's like it kind of compounds over time, but I think eventually you would owe that, or maybe your estate, if you do something really well, like by the time you're 80, 90, 100, whatever years old. Is that typically the case?
Yep. You can do it. It's called 1031 exchange. So where you, like, for example, I'm getting ready to do that with the apartment complex. I want to take those funds and start invest into another Airbnb. Because that's been really, really effective strategy thus far. So I'm going to sell that property. As long as I sell that property and find another property to pump that income into, or the profit that was made there into another vehicle with regards to real estate, I don't have to pay capital gains on that.
Got it. So you and Jordan, you guys are helping other practice owners ramp up and grow their cash practices. So I'm assuming there's probably, within the folks that you've helped, there's probably like maybe a top 5 or 10 practices that are just doing really well. Why not partner with them? Why not take your profits and partner or acquire or merge with some of those top 5, 10, because you get to kind of cherry pick. You could, if you wanted to, because who's kind of gone from where they started to, a pace maybe where you were at or where you could be. Why not do that? Or I don't know if you ever considered it. Why not do that though, and stay like in the physical therapy cash pay world instead of real estate?
Yeah, so I have actually done that with a practice already in Minneapolis area, where I was able to retain equity in that to give them my coaching, and then we grow and scale. So I'm getting into a little bit of that to diversify it. It really goes back to diversification for me. And there's also just a little bit more tax advantages that I like on the real estate side of things. And just, again, time leverage and monetary leverage as well. But it is something that we're doing as well on the side to diversify things too. But maybe down the road, we'll get more and more into that, and that'll be more of a strategy. So kind of testing these different investment vehicles, say like, hey, which one do we want to kind of start allocating more funds and more of our time to with regards to grow and scale that.
Yeah. It seems like that's getting more and more popular, like the consulting for equity route of these, like there's these acquisition entrepreneurs, there's these search funders that are self-funded searchers, or they are an investor-backed search fund or whatever. And then there's others that are kind of potentially looking to do a little bit of that, which is like consult for equity. And I get folks reach out to me all the time. Feel free to keep sending your emails and your messages about picking my brain for, help and, what do I think about this and that and their situation, and all that's great. But like, I have to charge something for that, or I just don't have the time for it. Or you could do what Ben did, and you could, we could talk about some equity, because then it's like a way to kind of have almost like there's like earn-ins, and there's a whole bunch of different phrases on how to structure this type of stuff. And I'm just surprised that, like, whether it's the Greg Todds, the Paul Goffs, Aaron Levowers, especially Paul Goff, who's had a ton of success from what I see. I've never really talked to him or met him, but it seems like those folks should be getting some equity points in these practices, as opposed to just cash that they make for courses or masterminds or whatever. And maybe I know that's their business model for cash, but that equity, it's like, it can certainly, obviously you have to know who that person is really well before you get into that. But I'm just surprised that no one has really done that, or at least I haven't heard that. And so you had the one practice owner in Minnesota that you've done that. So, you've already kind of dabbled into it.
Yeah. We're kind of testing the waters with it. Then there's Jordan and I went in on a deal with in Scottsdale. That's where we have another practice there, but I have less equity on that, more so on the Minneapolis one that we're testing the waters too. So we're kind of getting our feet wet with these first two, and then seeing like, hey, is this something that we want to start turning our sights on? Because right now we kind of have like an entry level where it helps people start their practice and then get to where the point they need to hire. Then we have the mastermind level where it's how to grow and scale. And then we kind of see like who has it. There's people that have it and those that don't. And by having that higher tier, you see like, hey, who would I want to actually partner with? So there might be something that we may add on, depending on these other two clinics go, with regards to even a higher tier past that mastermind, where now we get some equity into that to help accelerate things even further.
Got it. Awesome. Have you seen, or with your clients and your practice owners that you guys have helped, have you seen any of them kind of venture into some real estate, or are they kind of earlier on where they're still kind of focused on growing their cash-based practice?
Yeah. So a lot of the people that join the mastermind are still in that phase, like in the first year or two, where they need to continue to invest in themselves. But we do have some people, and that's where I kind of really say that our mastermind's different than most. Is with the rich dad, poor dad model, you have, you have the employee, then you have self-employed, then you have business owner. Most business coaches just help you get to kind of that business owner stage and help you grow that third quadrant. Well, there's a fourth one with the investor. And so within our mastermind, I've taken what I've learned and I coach the other people that are kind of at that higher tiered portion of the mastermind, where they have like, hey, I don't know what to do with these profits. Where should I put these funds to get my money to work for me now? Because that's what the fourth phase is all about, is get money to work for you, right? So that's where we also teach within that mastermind what to do with those profits and help people leverage their money to get it to work for them. Got it.
Anything else in regards to the real estate component, or the kind of like the allocation of capital? Whether, I think the great tip earlier you said is invest in even learning that. So you invested in learning about like alternative investments and real estate and stocks and all that. Obviously, anyone watching and listening, you got to do your own due diligence and, find other mentors and other, there's a ton of content out there to watch, to listen to. Anything, final touch point or tip or strategy in regards to how they can, learn, kind of explore some of this, see what might be best for them in their practice?
Yeah, I think that a big problem that I ran into, and why I started getting away from the multifamily aspect of things and more into the Airbnbs, I found a great partner to work with on these properties. And the reason being is I ran into the problem of, now I need to I have to watch over tenants, or I can hire a property manager, which I did, but you still have to make sure the property manager is doing their job. And I'm like, this isn't as passive as I want it to be, because now I just kind of almost created a second business and it's a little bit too much time commitment. I want something more passive. That's why I kind of got in these real estate syndications, but then also which are really, really passive. And then I got into this Airbnb because I found a partner that his weak point was he didn't have the capital, but he had the knowledge on how to remodel and renovate these properties to make them higher value. And he knew the area that we're investing in at a really high level, and I didn't. And so he knew how to make it work. He just had the capital. Well, I had the capital, but I didn't know how to make it work. So, and the know-hows, like the know-hows of what it takes to have a successful Airbnb business. And so I just bring the funds, he carries out and does all the management, and it's a 50-50 split. And so we're both we're all on the same page with interests align with things. So it's also about finding the right partner too, if you want to be more passive and into the Airbnb, or if you want to invest in like syndications, it's also another option that I've been using that makes it much more passive versus having a property manager and having to watch over them and all that stuff too. So.
Yeah, no, I like that delineation, which is you could put your capital in a certain place and you'll probably, you put it in that syndication and maybe there's preferred shares. You got to learn all about that type of stuff. And maybe there's some capped upside there. And then maybe the upside's more if you're going to then do what you're doing, which is like the Airbnb or multifamily or other stuff like that. But then, like you said, it takes more oversight, or you got to make sure that there's some people that's, property manager and like the cleaning folks. I mean, everything in terms of like, now it's like another business. So I'm glad that we kind of fleshed some of those out, because those are, again, the pros and cons of like, you're going to take your profits, you got to put them somewhere. And depending on where you put them, there's going to be, some like consequences or side effects, whether good or bad or neutral. There's going to be some things to then consider depending on where you're looking to kind of invest or park that capital.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of people think, oh, real estate is 100% passive or it's completely passive. It's not the case. There's definitely different aspects of real estate that are more active and then some that are more passive. So that's also a thing that I realized and I had to learn kind of the hard way. Is not all real estate and not all investing is actually as passive as what most people think. So.
Yeah, awesome. Ben, this was really great. What's a good place for the audience to reach out to you, whether, again, email, LinkedIn, website, if they want to learn more about you, your practice, clinical marketer, what you're doing with Jordan, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, Dr. Ben Bagge. I share a lot of free content on there to help people grow and scale their practice. So you can follow me there. You can also find me on Facebook. We have a Facebook group for cash-based PTs. We have over 3,000 people in there, approaching 4,000, I believe. And so that's a lot of free resources as well to help you grow and scale your practice. And you can also email me at ben@theclinicalmarketer.com.
Excellent. If you guys find this interesting and valuable and helpful, subscribe to the Dave Kittle Show on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. And we'll catch you next time here on the show. Ben, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. This was fun.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.